We meet again, Cheeseball. It feels like just yesteryear that I publicly executed one of your kind, because it was. I drew and quartered one of your brethren to make an example of you, to demonstrate just what we do to abominations like you in these parts. But still, here you sit, prideful, hateful, smelly, just as terrible and ugly as all who came before you. Well, existing was your first mistake, you ugly fucking lump! And now you will pay the ultimate price. You will notice that I am wearing a DIY hazmat suit. That is because you are toxic to all life on Earth, and if my bare skin is exposed to you, the effects could be fatal. You will also notice that my outfit features a crop top, and that is because fashion comes first. Physically, there are so very many ways to destroy a cheeseball. I could fling you into the sea, or crush you beneath my boots, or microwave you to a crisp, or stuff you down the garbage disposal, or slice you into pieces, or hang you with some yarn, or put you in one of those dog toys that lets you throw tennis balls farther than humanly possible and eat you back and forth across a field until you were not much more than a cheesy skid mark upon the grass. And I am certain that all of these activities would bring me immense satisfaction. But today, we transcend corporal punishment. We go beyond it, Cheeseball. No, today I will destroy you from the inside out. What I physically do to you will not compare to what I will do to your disgusting mind. These are my weapons of choice. View them only as punctuation for my cruel words. When I am through, your form will be no more than a curdled pincushion, and after I have spoken your terrible truths aloud, death will feel like a sweet release. An end to your suffering is a mercy you do not deserve. But alas, that is the nature of an execution. But your end has not come yet. In fact, we are just beginning. So let's start with your flavor. The last cheeseball I killed had the audacity to call itself port wine. What a farce! What undue pride! How it could even compare itself to a substance like wine is beyond me. When wine is aged, it turns into something beautiful and elegant. It's bitter, but still likable. But cheeseballs? No. As you sit there, you only become more and more disgusting. Ironically, wine is supposed to go with cheese. It's a brilliant combination of flavors when done correctly. But when done incorrectly, it is an affront to the laws of nature. What I'm saying is that your compatriot was a mistake so upsetting that even a starving dog might have the dignity to pass it up if they found it on the side of the road. Port wine. Even calling it cheese at all is a compliment neither it nor you deserves. But sadly, there is no word for something that tries so hard to be cheese, but fails so tragically. Even something like Cheese Whiz has more dignity than you. It puts itself in a can and accepts its status as a cheese-flavored whipped cream. It's almost endearing. But a port wine cheeseball, its stinky hands reached up to the pants legs of the regal and dared to sully them by association. It made me sick! But the shape of your arrogance may be even more appalling than that. Parmesan cheese is delightful. It is out there doing the work day in and day out, improving pasta all around the world. Even the simplest of Parmesan, even the kind that comes in packets in the cheapest of pizza boxes, or plastic shakers, or what have you, serves a valuable role in our society. It is the fairy dust of cheese, magical, iconic, unassailable. And then there is you. You wish you were wanted so badly that you have gone and named yourself Parmesan, which is in the language spoken by sentient cheese worldwide translates, of course, to ambrosia of the gods, bread of the masses. That is a real cheese fact that I definitely did not just make up. And you would know that if you were real cheese and not a fraud. Ow. But then you had to be even more special. You had to be even more unique. And so, like Icarus flying too close to the blazing sun, you threw in ranch as an afterthought. Ranch. Not only have you spoiled the good name of Parmesan, but you degraded it further by soaking it in white goop. White goop. Now that is a name that could nearly begin to suit you. But I digress. How vile, how absolutely depraved you are. Those flavor palettes were never meant to Those flavor palettes were never meant to interact, you hateful thing. What's next? Gouda and toothpaste? Asiago and peanut butter? Go to hell! I'd say you have a stench only a mother could love, but even that is untrue, isn't it, Cheeseball? Oh, yes. I've done my research on you. You wanted to slip in next to all the other cheeses at the store and pretend you were just like them. In form and function you may as well be, but I do not believe that you were really made by FDA-approved methods as you claim. I suspect I know exactly what your life has really been like, and I'm about to speak my interpretation for all to hear. Your mother was so ugly that people screamed when they looked at her, because it felt like their eyeballs were melting out of their skulls at the sight of it, in an effort to escape that horrible sight. Don't look at me like that. We both know it's true. She was not actually cheese herself. She was a deformed blobfish with 2 webbed feet of unequal length. She was born near a nuclear reactor, and her mother drank spilled oil out of the Gulf of Mexico during her gestation. Ugliness on its own is not typically a crime, Cheeseball, and I want to be clear that women, even fish women, should not be judged for not living up to unrealistic beauty standards. I pity her and the way society judged her, but I do not pity you. I do not pity you at all. You are an exception to this rule because you are uniquely appalling in the universe. She swam up to the water's surface. She wanted a better life, but she met with the same rejection she had met in the poisoned sea. A seagull accidentally caught a glimpse of her from on high and fainted from disgust, arcing down like an arrow from the sky and smashing into a parked car's windshield. Glass flew everywhere, slicing the beachgoers and tinkling upon the pavement. As she ran away, she ran past an elementary school, slapping her nasty duck feet against the asphalt and leaving a rancid sludge behind. All the children started crying. So did the teachers. The police were called, and when they were shown an artist's sketch of the offender, they arrested the artist for making such a horrifying image. In an interview, the police chief was quoted as saying, "Nuh-uh. We are not getting near that thing. Everyone just bird box it until this is all over. If you can't see it, it can't see you. That is how vision works." And then she tied a bandana over her eyes and walked directly into a lamppost, giving herself a mild concussion. Your mama really was that ugly. Even the raccoons digging through the trash cans squeaked and ran away when she approached. I am certain that it was then that she knew she would never truly find a love or find a place in this world. She was so heartbroken, but also very hungry by this point, so for some fucking reason she ate a bunch of unspecified garbage as a snack, and unfortunately for herself and the world, it was spoiled, and she couldn't keep it down. As she threw it back up, she realized it had become something else in her gut, something all its own, something alive. Something terribly alive. She hacked it up like a ball of phlegm and spat it upon the filthy earth. And then, in that moment, she understood that this was the closest she would ever come to having progeny. And so before she opened her eyes, before even inhaling, she tenderly put one webbed foot upon your horrible, horrible form, and she said, "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry to have been the one who brought you into this world. I know I'm hideous. You probably are as well. But I promise you this, my child, no matter what comes our way, no matter what happens, no matter how the children scream at us, I will cherish you. I will walk and swim beside you as long as I live." And then she opened her eyes and she was like, "Ugh, never mind. The witnesses who survived the environmental effects of your horrible birth say she sprinted back to the sea and dove in and swam directly to the bottom of the Mariana Trench, where she promptly died of sorrow. You rolled out of the garbage. In your wake, all life fled. Not even the flies would have you. You made your way down to the school and the town evacuated. As you rolled up to the front office's window, the last shivering receptionist in the building gazed upon you. He knew his time was short in this world. He had gazed upon the harbinger, and now he saw what it had warned of. You rolled around like a possessed, squelching softball, trying to communicate that you wanted to find your mother. and that alternatively, you'd like to enroll in pottery classes. He called his husband and sobbed that he loved him, and he was so sorry that they'd fought over what to eat for dinner last night. You gave up trying to communicate with him, and you slimed the floor with unspeakable residue on the way to the cafeteria. Behind you, the receptionist leapt over the desk, slipped on said residue, miraculously righted himself, and booked it the hell out of there. As soon as he was outside, he kicked off his Birkenstocks, leaving them to sizzle and rot as he sprinted through the abandoned town again. He may have escaped with his life, but he was never the same again. You slorped your way into the cafeteria, melting the tile floor behind you. This had been a fancy school for the children of rich beach snobs, and so among the abandoned dishes on the tables there was a cheese platter at the center of the room. And you had an idea. Overflowing with grime and with extremely misplaced confidence, you decided to approach. As you arrived, a few brave scout ants scurried away, as if a giant fist of your stench had come down directly in the midst of their trail. Those who had not been killed upon impact walked as if drunken, stunned by your unbelievable aura. Just disgusting. The other cheeses recoiled. You saw sweat forming on several of them, but approached anyway, cornering them. They backed away until gravity overtook them, and their platter clattered to the ground. Only one cheese was brave enough to remain on the table. He was Swiss. You could tell from his accent. He was the most beautiful thing you'd ever seen, and you fell in love in an instant. He asked you what you were, and you asked him what he was. He said that he was cheese. You said you were also cheese. Such arrogance. He shivered at that and took a step backward. He asked what you wanted. You told him you wanted to take him out for coffee or maybe be friends. The sweat pooled in his many holes, and he took another step back, another fatal step back, because unfortunately he had misjudged how many steps were possible, and he fell off and joined his fallen friends on the cafeteria floor. You were devastated. You splooched down the table's leg, and you slept onto the floor, and you went to cradle his broken form. He was your first love, but unfortunately he wouldn't be your last. You began to understand that it was not possible to approach people directly, and so you hid yourself away. You made yourself an OkCupid profile on a phone you found in the abandoned streets. It was then that you began a long-distance relationship with another beautiful cheese. Her name was Brie, right? And she was a wheel of cheese who... Does Brie come in wheels? It doesn't matter! She lived 2 towns away from you. The two of you talked for hours a day, for an entire week. You made her laugh with all your gross sounds, which she found kind of endearing because she had extremely low standards. She was blind, which meant she did not have to gaze upon your terrible shape. As you spoke with her, she also revealed that she possessed a limited sense of smell, and this made you feel hopeful. Hope. You having hope. Disgusting. You told her how you had been reviled, and she felt sorrow for you. And she swore that she would not do the same to you. She was kind, Cheeseball. Do you remember how kind she was to you in those days? Don't you miss her? But she's gone now, isn't she? Your slimy composition flubbed with disgusting joy the day she suggested meeting with you. You warned her that literally no one had ever survived contact with you, and she laughed it off, saying she was sure she could handle it. You met in the town between the two of you, with the intention of going to the beach. Many of the evacuees from the first town had fled to this one, and upon seeing you again, they wept and they gnashed their teeth, wondering if they were cursed to flee from you as long as they lived. On the road there, as she rolled down the sidewalk, Bree wondered why traffic sounded so heavy. And then the scent hit her. It was disgusting. It came in putrid waves, and even with her diminished smelling capacity, it was almost too much to bear. She rolled faster and faster, determined to get you out of this town as soon as possible and save you from whatever awful horror was creating the scent. You met up in town square. It had been completely abandoned by this point. You spotted her from a distance, and you squicked closer. You said her name. It was then that she realized the scent was yours, and that everyone had been fleeing from you. She finally understood why you were all alone in this world. You told her you loved her. She was your heart, your everything, the only one who had ever really tried to love you. Parmy, she said, I'm so sorry, but I can't do this anymore. You begged her to stay, but she revved up and zoomed away. When you tried to message her again, she blocked you on all social media platforms. You tried to travel to her town, but when you arrived at her home, you found a note on the door that said, You will never find me. I have made certain of it. May God forgive me for bringing your curse upon my town. You wept toxic slime upon her porch, eating the way of the varnish of the wood. You felt it coming apart beneath you, and for a moment you considered letting it swallow you whole. But still you rolled away. You wandered the streets like a lost soul for days, picking up all kinds of disgusting particles. What the hell even are these? And forming an exoskeleton of even more filth. Forming an exoskeleton of even more filth. What would you do? Where would you go? Why were you so unbelievably stinky? I mean, is there an explanation? Does science have an explanation? Whatever. You took a nice bath in some moldy ranch dressing to make yourself feel better. Not that it helped at all. Afterward, you powdered yourself in a thick coat of expired Parmesan. You found an old plastic wrapper and you stuck it to your skin. Like some kind of perverse paper mache. And you rolled into yet another new town. You feared that everyone would flee once more, but miraculously, because of your new plastic sheath, you were able to make it all the way to the grocery store without anyone noticing. You rolled over to the refrigerated cheese section, and you saw that there were things called Cheeseballs. You opened the packaging of one of your cool new friends and discovered that they were equally as disgusting as you. You rejoiced. Finally, you had a purpose. You would sneak your way into people's homes and attack from within. You your way onto the Cheeseball display, and with all your hateful friends, you waited for some innocent soul to buy you and just try to spread you on fancy crackers and serve you to their guests. Like some fucking sicko! You told your friends about this mental image, and they vibrated with vile glee. That was yesterday. You waited overnight, and then this morning at that same grocery store, I found you. I have been tasked with destroying your kind. I have been on the hunt. I have been ready to enact revenge upon you for daring to exist like you do. And when we locked eyes, I knew you were the one who must face my wrath. Parmesan Ranch, I said, feeling like I had been just absolutely socked in the gut because it was vile, absolutely vile. But I knew what I must do, and so cringing so deeply, I took you to checkout, and I actually paid real dollars for you and brought you back to my home so that you could be undone once and for all. And so your terrible life ends here. Your legacy of destruction will be no more. You sit here, an emotionally destroyed pincushion of filth and misery with your abhorrent history laid out for all to know and revile. So what do you think, Cheeseball? Did I get your story right? What's that? You can't deny any of it? Ha! So take one more moment, one more look upon your accursed life, and say goodbye to the cruel world that invented something like you. 3, 2, 1. Good night, Cheeseball. Sleep. Sleep and dream of nothing at all forevermore. Well, that's it, folks. The Cheeseball is completely ruined emotionally and physically and will never be able to harm anyone ever again. Now, to throw it in the trash so that... Ow. Okay. Okay. It appears I did not think this all the way through. It seems I have accidentally made the Cheeseball's corpse into some kind of, some kind of rancid cactus. It's potentially even more dangerous than than it was when I bought it. But it is still destroyed. I mean, look at that. It's very destroyed. I just need to figure out how to dispose of it properly. What maybe this will work. Maybe this will work. Fire always works, right? Oh, yes. Yes, fire it is.